Well, hey, we're back.
Hey, Statto.
Hey,
Much better.
we meet again.
Indeed. There's something slightly different about you again tonight.
Hey, chat.
Yeah, is that a full moon out there?
Yes. Actually, I think it is. I want to say it is pretty close.
I think it might well be. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a wee while since we've done a live one.
It has.
This should be good. This should be fun.
It should.
It's going to be easy all the way.
Yep, it'll be easy.
Hey, easy. See who's here. Say hello to everybody. Already seen Hyper Kaiju's here.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening. Peter. Pete Bakewell himself. Good evening. I saw you.
Pete Bakewell?
You said you were going to be 5 minutes early, and I believe you were. Adams. Hey there, Adams. Hey, another Statto.
Oh,
well, there's Statto. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is us. We're going out again to the YouTube, the Facebook, and even Twitch.
Even Twitch
for what it's worth. But good seeing you all. And we're going to be doing another wee look at the EC comics in a wee second. I'll just, in case it's anybody, we've got a few more subscribers since the last time, so there may be some people come along.
Beautiful.
And have a wee watch later on, and so I might as well tell them about Elsa Dark.
Hey.
Why not? Just a wee short, because we've done everything now. We've got everything. All the stretch goals. Statto's amazing. In fact, just got the updates because that's easier. In case you haven't seen this already, that's it.
Look
printed.
at that.
Look at that in the box with a lovely wee paper around it, and then there you go.
Suitable for framing.
Indeed, suitable for framing. Yeah, I'm going to get a spray mount. I'm going to get it mounted and get it framed, definitely. So we have it. It's there. It's in the flesh. Everybody gets that. Anybody who backs it gets that now. So cool. So still in demand. Hopefully fulfilled, and everybody's got theirs sent out in November. That's what it's on track for,
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just fingers crossed to manage to get it all done. If not, it's going to be December the latest. Everybody will have it this year, that's for certain. I'm going to break my back making sure that I get it out to you all. I know. Grr. You go, Pete's picking out a special frame for that print already. Yeah, it's going to look nice.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. Welcome. So if you are new to the channel, there's a link to my web page down there, and you'll get links to the Indiegogo and also the Tatty Bobo Man sign up page. I'm going to have to create a new one of these pretty soon because they only let you do them for so many days, and then you've got to keep creating new ones. But that doesn't really matter. If the link looks dead, don't worry, another one will be up.
So when are you closing? Dave wants to know.
I'm going to be closing in November. Exactly when November, I don't know. It's one of those things where once I've got it done and I start fulfilling, I don't know whether I want to keep it open until I finish fulfilling or close it when I start fulfilling. Yeah, there's part of me that thinks I'll close it when I start fulfilling, and then I'll offer it. I'll offer like the chance to get on to Tales of Dark, maybe on the Tales of Mystery. I don't know. I might do something with that.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's a lot easier to say, right, done and dusted, and then fulfilled. Okay.
Sure.
It just that's the way it worked with the first campaign, and so yeah, it's a lot easier to keep track of that way. So yeah.
Oh boy.
Definitely by mid-November, I'll be thinking of closing it. So yeah, here you go. Is that an ice cream van?
No. Yes.
Right. That's Tales of Dark, Werewolves and Vampots.
Sure is.
You need to get the car. Probably the car through an MOT is probably definitely the priority. Yeah, Dave. Yeah. But, right. Oh, what are we doing? Let's see. Share screen.
Yes, please share.
There we go.
There we go.
Now we're talking. We're going to be doing Wullie and Statto's EC Tales, and tonight we're looking at Werewolf Concerto, Doctor of Horror, and Horror in the Night. These were all good ones, got to say. These were all good ones. Yeah.
Have you seen them before?
No. I have not seen any of these ones before.
I envy you a little bit.
And I mean, I'd read Werewolf Concerto because I've got a couple of versions of it now. I've got it in the EC Vaults of Horror. It was just released. There's these 2 volumes here that we've got, and most of these stories are in these volumes. So
correct.
I think all of them are in these 2 volumes, aren't they? So
yeah, the 2 we're looking at came from the Vault of Horror specifically.
Yeah. And I've also got a copy in the Johnny Craig, one of the Johnny Craig Fantagraphics books in the black and white. So I'd read that. I'd read Doctor of Horror. Funny enough, I hadn't read Horror in the Night. So that was a case of I actually read that after seeing the EC, the Tales from the Crypt episode. So it was one of these cases where I watched the episode first and then went and read the comic strip, and so that's interesting. But yeah, Werewolf Concerto. Let's just start with that then.
Go for it.
So yeah, it's another Johnny Craig piece. It's an early one, an early kind of EC strip, and I liked his werewolves. His werewolves had real character to them, and he was always good at drawing these very kind of like hard-boiled dames and characters. I read this, and it was one of these things. I've got an image on the left here is from the copy that we've got in the book that's just been released, the softcover version of the Vault of Horror. The one on the right is taken from the Fantagraphics one where you just see the line art. I kind of like it better, but just the black and white. I'll be honest with you, and I kind of like it better with the original colouring again, not the one that's in the Vault of Horror, because I can't help myself. I have to go and check it. I have to go and check what the original colouring was like.
Right.
But it's either way reading it is always good. But something about Johnny Craig's line work that just is really nice in black and white, I think. But the story itself, I mean, what did you think, just for the actual comic strip, what did you think of the story?
This one was, I like it, but it felt really like sort of a filler story. Super bare bones, like wasn't a whole lot to it compared to, like especially the Horror Doctor, Doctor of Horror, both in the episode and in the story. This one felt, the comic version here felt really like filler.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I mean, I quite enjoyed it, but it could have been told as a 3-page story. I
Right.
think.
Yeah, there wasn't
know,
a whole lot going. It felt like the middle of a story.
yeah, a 3-page story, or even just like even just a 2-page. They could probably go. They could have started on 1 page, and then you turn over and you see the the
Right.
second page leads to the kind of like the twist
Fairly
in the
different.
tail.
Yeah, this one fairly different from the episode.
It is.
It's got a couple of light elements ending, but for the most part, it's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, would you want to kind of like, because guys, this is all spoilerific. We always
Oh yeah,
put up the episodes like well in advance with the stories we're talking about to give
it's
you
tough
time
to
to
talk
read them
about
and
a
so on. Yeah,
half an hour show without being spoilery.
totally. So I mean, do you want to kind of like give them all a kind of sense of what this story is, or in the actual comic? And
So in the comic, for you guys uninitiated, it's about a hotel owner that can't keep anybody in his hotel because people keep on getting murdered, and then a pianist, a lady comes. He invites her to come stay at the place for what it seems like in the comic, like a month or couple of months or whatever like that. Just pretty much live there. It's kind of weird when you think about it.
yeah,
But then people start coming back until the murders happen again, and then people start running away. It's basically the gist. But she's still there. That's the gist of the story.
yeah, it is. It's odd. It's Werewolf Concerto, but there's no actual real. You expect it to have some kind of like concerto in it, for them to be some kind of like a concert or something. There's nothing like that in it. So it's almost like she's to stay there and be a piano player in the hotel, which is kind of odd. And there's no actual scenes of that in the story. The werewolf in this is actually the hotel owner, isn't it? It's a manager.
Right.
Turns out that he's the werewolf at the end as well. Yeah, it's a funny one, and it's okay. It's an okay read. It's nice
Quick.
Johnny Craig artwork. It's a fairly quick read as well. Yeah, and again, the original colours are on the left. Yeah, I like them better. But yeah, it's an odd one, I think. The actual werewolf gets he kind of discovers that the woman is a vampire,
Like
when he checks her piano. And it's like the old Transylvanian story, the classic Dracula in Istanbul, for instance, where he has like the soil of his homeland, in the coffin, and so in this case, it's in the piano. I quite like that. I thought that's quite good. I quite like that.
Yeah, that was a nice
idea.
twist, and that's something they echoed in the episode too.
Yeah, so it turns out, of course, that she is a vampire, and the werewolf is then dispatched and taken care of by the vampire. It would have been nice to see a vampire werewolf fight the way that they've got it drawn here. You expect that, but that's how it ends. So yes, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's kind of like a mid-tier EC comic, I would say. The episode, however,
I love this one. This might be one of my favorite episodes.
The episode is really good, and it does stick to the beats of basics, the comic. Yeah.
Although Dennis Farina would have been the werewolf had you.
Well, exactly. You've got Dennis Farina plays the hotel manager in the episode, famous, of course, for Crime Story, that great TV show that Michael Mann produced.
He used to be a cop in real life too, yeah.
He did indeed, and he was in. He's been in loads of things.
Lots of crime, Get Shorty, all kinds of stuff.
Get Shorty, all that kind of stuff. And he plays the hotel owner in a very camp manner that probably wouldn't fly today.
Oh, for sure. I feel like
he is so funny.
This is a weird one where it's like it feels like the writers knew that people maybe read the story, because the whole time you're going to be going, "Oh, I know this story. It's the hotel guy."
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So they're bringing this whole idea of this werewolf kind of hunter. And
more of a whodunit.
Yeah, you think it's, well, first of all, there's Beverly D'Angelo plays the piano player.
Movie turned TV lady. She's done a lot of TV in the last few years.
And she's only in 2 scenes, but the scene she has with Timothy Dalton. Now, Timothy Dalton plays a character who we think is the werewolf hunter. That's kind of how they're playing it. You know, it's one of these things. Who is the werewolf? The cast is terrific in this, and
all character actors.
Yeah, there's a sequence between her and Timothy Dalton, which is there's more chemistry and it's more Bond-like than.
Oh, I was thinking that same thing, especially when we shot that dude in the head.
Yeah, but what the dude he shoots in the head is Walter Gotel, who played Gogol, the Russian guy in the Bond movies. So there's that whole Bond connection there as well. So, but you do get a feel that, oh man, if only he'd been given another chance, because he's more Bond-like in this than he is in the Bond movies.
That the whole cast looked like they were having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the picture we've got there just behind him, there's it's not Richard, Charles Fleischer, isn't it? Who was the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Also, he was the doctor in Tales from the Crypt, or I mean, in Nightmare on Elm Street, for those that kind of remember his little cameo in there.
That's right, yeah. So the cast, and again, he's we don't see him in that image there, but the character that he's talking to in that image there is the cop in Die Hard, who helps
Reginald Bell Johnson, also in Family Matters, the dad in Family Matters. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's tons of really good character actors cast in this.
Packed right in, yeah.
And it doesn't have any kind of like fat on it whatsoever. It's incredibly lean. It just moves.
I think it was a better Howling sequel than any Howling movie.
Yeah, that's kind of like that, because the werewolf is almost like I would say the werewolf is up to the standards of the Howling.
Well, it was Howling.
Yeah,
it looks very similar to the Howling 6 werewolf, which I think they probably watched the Bark at the Moon music video, the Ozzy video, and said, that might work, because it did look good.
It's got that flat face. Yeah, it does look good.
The metal hair and the but it's TV. It's a TV werewolf. I mean, but you know what? I'd actually really like to have seen him in a werewolf movie, because his transformation, he did a great job. Dalton did in that little bit that they had. This one clipped along, and you're right, there wasn't a lot of fat in this thing, and it did feel like if not the ending of a longer story, like more of a complete story than the other one did.
Yeah, and it kind of paid homage a wee bit, I think, to The Beast Must Die, that old Amicus movie, which is like the whodunit, who is the werewolf, because it's got that feel as well. It's like all these people know that somebody is a werewolf, but who is the werewolf?
They tried to shtick in Howling 5, where they're all locked in a castle in a snowstorm, and one of them was a werewolf. Didn't quite pan out quite as well. I think this probably had more of a budget than that movie did, come to think of it.
Yeah, definitely. One of Pete's favourites, I think. Yep. Definitely good. Definitely glad it was pre-CGI, because they probably would have started doing things in the episode that they wouldn't need to do. And I've got to agree with Adams. It's like you really do begin to appreciate the artistry of a lot of these.
Oh, I like a grid.
Artists. Yeah,
that's how I work.
Yep. Statto is the master of the grid.
I love the grid.
Yep. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this, and it was another one of these things again where it shows you how Timothy Dalton's been kind of like given the chance with the right tone. He's really good in these things, and it's got a slightly camp quality to it, just enough, just the right side, with the tongue in cheek throughout the whole episode.
It reminds me of his role in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, exactly.
How much fun he was having being in that movie, and given like how the movie ended and stuff like that, it's very similar in terms of how he is just being a charming a-hole.
That's it. When he's allowed to have fun and play these kind of characters, which is why I liked his Bonds. I thought he was a good Bond, and I think he's got those qualities here that actually shine better here than they do in either of the Bond movies.
I think if he would have been able to joke a little more, well, he didn't want that, but if he joked a little more and played more this type, I think he would have been more popular.
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
Because that was the big complaint, being, after Roger Moore, he was just too dang serious. It was too far against the wall.
Definitely. Yeah, he was. Really, he was. I think he was stuck in that kind of Shakespearean kind of mode for a wee while, I think, taking himself too seriously. But when he got out of that, yeah.
He played a bad guy on a show called Chuck for a couple of seasons, where he got to be like the almost like a Bond villain. Real evil and giddy about it and stuff. He did a great job on there too.
Yeah, cool. I've never seen this. That's my to watch list from decades ago.
Yeah, I think he's like the season. He's like the season 4 bad guy, I think.
All right. Okay. I might just skip to season 4 then.
Yeah, you'd be lost, but
this is a good one. This is a good one.
Yep, it was.
Second time.
This will stand out with you long after you've watched a ton of them. You'll still be remember, because I don't think they had very many werewolf episodes, if I remember right. Like,
no,
that's one of the things that stands out.
Yeah, it's odd because there's a lot in DC comics, especially the ones we've got for the first few years. You know, there's a lot of werewolf stuff.
Of course, keep in mind they were with these series. They were combining like all 4 books, cherry picking stories from that, and it only went 91 episodes. So most of the stuff I think they took was from Vault of Horror, Shock Suspense, and some Tales from the Crypt. But budget wise, they didn't do as many monsters as people think. It was a lot of people murdering each other.
It was a lot of that. Sex and violence, pretty much. 24 Eyes, hey there.
He's great in Rocketeer too. I agree with that.
Yes, that's a fantastic movie.
Hey, 24 Eyes.
He's one of the Gallifreyans, isn't he? Time Lord and Doctor Who, I believe. Whether he still is, I don't know. But who knows? But yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Next up. Doctor of Horror. Right,
I like this one a lot too.
Yeah, me too. There was loads of things in the episode that really surprised me. But to talk about the comic first,
very different.
totally different.
In name only, pretty much.
Another kind of like kind of rendered, moody Graham Ingalls one. Again, I think works better. Black and white has artwork, but
for sure.
And this is before he really got into his stride as well.
Yep.
But there's lots to enjoy here. It's kind of like a old style body snatcher story.
Sure.
You could almost imagine Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff being cast in this if it was being made by
AIP movie.
AIP, yeah. And it's a good one.
It's not bad. This one was a much more complete story for sure than the other one.
Definitely a denser one to read. It's one of the dense kind of easy.
Oh yeah, it's all text.
All text. But it's well written. There's kind of good character dialogue in it, and there's
not bad for 8 pages.
Not bad at all, and there's good kind of like characterization when he's given room to do it, because it is that much dialogue. It's almost just like an illustrated short story. This, but it's it's the getting the body snatchers to get the bodies to do the medical experiments to forward your career, you know, and it's all going to end badly at the end of the day, isn't it? Because, he's going to end up on the slab as one of the bodies. That's essentially the story. It's an awful lot of writing to tell that story.
It's a simple story, but they packed all of it into eight pages for sure.
They do. I don't know if it's based on a actual story by anybody. I'm trying to think. It might well be.
I don't know.
Don't know.
I mean, it's a pretty common kind of thing. I mean, not only like the guy doing some bad stuff gets a taste of his own medicine, but
yeah. I mean, I did have a quick look earlier. I have a quick look now, but no, I'm not
very Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I got Robert Louis Stevenson because it's like the Body Snatcher to me.
Oh, I suppose a little bit,
yeah. Sort of Val Luton kind of film. So I wondered if that was what the basis was for it. The Body Snatcher. They don't mention it. Usually they say, who it's by, but then again, if this is before they get called out by Ray Bradbury, so maybe they wouldn't. Because after they did the first Ray Bradbury adaptation on the fly, thinking nobody would notice. But Ray Bradbury noticed and wrote a letter and said, "I really like that. Maybe we could do something." And they did. But
yeah, this one not as memorable as the comic, not quite as memorable as Werewolf and Statto, but the episode is.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some nice stuff, but even the way this ends, it doesn't. Especially even in the black and white version, you don't just like the visuals of the
kind of on a whimper.
It's kind of underwhelming.
Yep.
That sounds bad. It is well drawn. It's a well drawn and it's well written piece, but better than I would say the Werewolf Concerto as a story, but still not the best of EC Comics.
This one, I think, if you look at it objectively, was a better episode than Werewolf Concerto. Although I do love Werewolf Concerto, which is Austin
It's
Pendleton.
tough to compare them, though, isn't it?
But Austin Pendleton, look at all three of them had a lot of fun. But Pendleton being the crazy mad doctor, like, knocked it out of the park. And I mean, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, like Short Circuit and a few other things, being usually kind of a quieter, mousy guy or a business guy or whatever. I don't think he really got to unhinge like this in most of the stuff. He played a nerd.
Yeah, because this again, the only thing that it's got in common with the first one is actually it's really got nothing in common with the first one.
Nothing, except that cadavers are used.
Yeah, instead of body snatchers, you get night watchmen who end up as people who are getting rid of cadavers instead of stealing them. And you've got a mad doctor who's trying to find the human soul.
Right.
On the spine of the body. He believes he can actually isolate and find the human soul. So really it's got nothing in common with the original.
Surface level stuff.
Yeah, very surface level.
But it was a great time.
But the cast is great. I mean, it's like Hank Azaria.
Having a lot of fun. You have Travis Tritt.
And Travis Tritt, who's especially good at the end when he comes back from the dead.
I don't know I don't remember him acting in an incredible amount of stuff.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, of course, he's done enough music videos, but...
Yeah, no, I don't think so. You can't really top this, so can you?
Yeah, it's a shock ending for sure.
He does end up getting his head cut off, but when he comes back from the dead, as you can see in that picture there, he has to hold his head back onto his body.
Now, what was your reaction comparing the two? Because, I mean, like, I read this for the first time, but I saw this when I was a kid, so...
Yeah. The comics... I preferred Doctor of Horror over Werewolf Concerto as an overall comic. For episodes, they were equally as good for me.
Sure.
The first one, like Werewolf Concerto, was more of a camp adventure-y sort of like episode where you had like Beverly D'Angelo being all sexy and mysterious, and you had Timothy Dalton being kind of a dark version of a Bond type character.
Sure.
And that all really worked for me, and it was funny, but it wasn't too over the top. And it kept having like new interesting beats as it went along. This one was interesting to me because it was doing stuff that was kind of EC like, but it wasn't taken from EC Comics. But you could imagine the idea of trying to isolate the soul in a body being a story in an EC Comics. I quite liked
it would have fit right in.
Approach, yeah. But it was more of a reanimator approach to things. It felt more like a Brian Usner type production.
Sure.
So I would say I kind of equally like them. I don't know if I could choose one over the other.
They're both very memorable. I mean, if you were to ask me top 10 Tales from the Crypt episodes that I just remember from childhood, even without watching them, this and Werewolf Concerto would have both been on there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great scene in this where who's that chap again?
Pendleton, Austin Pendleton?
No, the guy for the Wonder Years.
Ben Stein.
Ben Stein. There's a great scene where they're chasing Hank Azaria's chasing him around the corridor, and it looks like they've only got one part of the corridor, but they film it as if it's a continual thing, and they keep going round and round until he catches up on him, and then he bludgeons him to death. And I'm like, that was really good.
I like that line from Ben where it's like, we'll do our best. Like, no, you won't. You're a couple of F-ups.
Yeah, he pretty much plays the character he plays and everything, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. I liked the wraparound as well with the Crypt Keeper where he's a barber.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes you think they don't quite fit the themes, but this seemed to fit this. It just worked. But yeah, EC meets Amicus meets Stuart Gordon. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think if there's anything about it that I wasn't particularly pleased about. But no,
they all did really a good job. You know what I would say? The thing I like more about this one than Werewolf Concerto is the fact that you have fewer characters, so they got a lot more to do.
Yeah. I think this one has more scares as well, shocks because
for
of that.
sure.
Werewolf Concerto doesn't really try to scare you.
Good monster flick. Just
it
starts
just
out with a throat ripping and
but yeah, I would, if I was to take one of these to flesh it out, it would be Werewolf Concerto. You could make
for sure
a feature from that.
So I was watching it thinking this seems like an end of a really good werewolf movie.
Yeah.
Or even, like the later middle, like beginning of a third act almost or something like that. But this one was pretty complete.
Yeah, this one I think would work better like this. I think if you were to flesh this one out, what you would be doing if you'd be adding a B story and all this kind of stuff to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just perfect. It's like a 20 minutes of television.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a good one. It's hard to pick which I enjoy the most. I do think I would probably go back to Werewolf Concerto more because I like the performances in it. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah. Dalton knocked it out of the park. Carried that whole episode pretty much.
Yeah, I mean these are all from different seasons. These episodes we're watching tonight as well.
4 and 6. Yep.
Yeah, so that's 4 and 6, and so the last one, Horror in the Night. I mean, like I say, I read the strip after I saw the episode, and it's a Harvey Kurtzman one, and there are similarities to it. And I think I liked them both equally in this case.
Sure.
What do you think about the strip itself? The story?
It's all right. I mean, it's. I think of the 3, it's probably my least favorite of them. Enough similarities to like recognize it and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like this one was just this is on kind of more one of those like just people murder each other ones versus the kind of cool supernatural ones.
Yeah.
The other ones, this one's a little more pedestrian, I think.
Yeah, I think though. I don't know. I don't know if I quite
agree
with that. I think that this is more like a David Lynch story to me when I was reading it. Yeah, it's almost like when they come in and they kill each other, because they do. It's basically just people killing each other, like you say. But I was thinking to myself, is this them doing that, or has this already been done and it's happening again already before it happens again? If you know what I mean. Because the twist is that it's going to happen again. So either he's dreamt it, or is it the kind of thing that keeps on happening?
Right.
And that's what the TV show kind of plays with. This has got things in it that the TV show doesn't have that I really quite like. Like it's got this cat attack. You see it here at the top left-hand side. And in the previous page where the woman gets basically attacked by a cat. And I like the absurdity of that. And I just liked Harvey Kurtzman's artwork in it as well.
Yeah, that lighting on the middle right panel.
Yeah, it's just
choking. That's some nice lighting.
Yeah, it's just really quite cool. So yeah, I went to this after I saw the episode, and I kind of enjoyed it because it was different enough. I kind of know where you're coming from, though. It doesn't really pack a punch.
This wouldn't be really one of those ones. I mean, you like watching it, but it's like if you're asked to recount a few tales, this one's not going to come up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, to actually get into the episode, I was quite surprised by it because it didn't feel like an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Well, some of them were from like Shock Suspense, so I mean that was mostly just crime book.
Yeah, but even just the style of it, because I mean it was Russell Mulcahy that directed this one, and I think that shows because this was still when he obviously gave a damn, because he was trying to do stuff, and it's just. A lot of it works simply because it deals with dreams and is it real, is it not real, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So what this does is it takes a hitman on the run with he's wounded and he's got like his diamonds, and he goes into this hotel, and it's just this hellish night of blood and terror and horror with this woman played by what's her name that was in Once Upon a Time in America.
Oh, that's
her name is just
Elizabeth McGovern.
Elizabeth McGovern.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like he's haunted by her, and she appears at one point as a creature with big kind of wings and all kinds of stuff, weird stuff. It's got Ed Temple Tudor, the lead singer of Temple Tudor, is a guy at the desk. Used to do a show over here called the Crystal Maze, and it's just it's surreal, and it's kind of hard to explain to somebody, as you can tell, because I'm finding it quite hard to explain right now. Could you explain it?
This one's this one had that. I don't know if you'd call it a service or a disservice of being in the 7th season, because they moved all that over to London, and they cut the budget pretty significantly.
Yeah,
for a lot of this stuff, so that's part of the reason it seems very different.
Yeah, I don't know if the budget limitations hurt this episode, though. I think
not this episode, no.
Yeah, because Russell Mulcahy is really good with low budgets and making them look good. And the location, that hotel that they use with the train going by, that's a really good location.
Yeah. Oh, Adam's got something to say. Critta crashed. Adams
is working. That's why, yeah. That's unusual. Like... That's usually pretty stable Critter. That's unusual. But yeah. Hopefully it's saved. Got my fingers crossed for Adams. Hopefully it's saved.
Yeah, the 7th season didn't have an incredible amount, a little bit, but not an incredible amount of like supernatural stuff in it.
No, the one thing I kind of liked this. I have to say, I did like. I think they're all winners tonight, and I did like this episode, and I liked the kind of the twist is that he's been lured back to the hotel where, as a hitman, he killed this woman 5 years previously, and he's now been lured back, and this is where he ends up getting killed. So we get all that. The only thing is that it's told to us. The reasoning is told to us in a bit of exposition at the end by the hitman. And it would have been nicer if that wasn't how it ended. But other than that, I think it's another good one, another winner.
Well, that's good. It sucks that I can't watch these for the first time again. I tell you.
Again, the Crypt Keeper as an astronaut kind of confused me.
Sometimes it's just for fun with those things.
Sometimes it's just for fun. But I was hoping for a Planet of the Apes episode when I saw him, something like that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but it didn't go there. What can you say? He lost it. Oh, yeah, no, man, I'm sorry. I'm not really laughing. It's just that's the opening sequence of this as well. The end sequence with the Crypt Keeper, the guy's head flies off. His passenger next to him. Sorry, man. I usually find though, it's like whenever something crashes, I had a crash today. I worked for an hour on something. It was something editing a video together. A premiere that I put up that's going to premiere next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And it crashed and it didn't save it. But I found I could do the last hour's work I managed to do in 15, 20 minutes because it's always a lot quicker when you do it the second time around. So hopefully you'll be okay, mate. So so you're not the biggest fan of this one then, Statto?
Well, I like it. I think just stacked up against the other two, you happen to choose 2 episodes that like I go way back with. When stacked up against those, this one's like, it's all right. It's one of the. It's okay.
Yeah, it does feel like you're watching a different show when you get to the 7th season from the few that I've watched so far.
Yeah, I don't remember which ones they were. I mean, I remember one of them, but they were going to try to do a Two-Fisted Tales spinoff, and they filmed 2 episodes for it. One of them was the war one, Yellow, with Kirk Douglas. I want to say I was in like the 5th, 6th season, something like that. Anyways, they decided not to go through with it, and they just folded it into the Tales from the Crypt show. So there's like 2 episodes, and this one feels a lot like it would be something like you were saying. It's not quite Tales from the Crypt. It felt like it would be like a different show that was just folded into this one.
Yeah, you can see it as more of a shock suspense type thing. You take the supernatural bits out, you can still have all the hallucinations and the moving around.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have that kind of like Harry Palmer 60s kind of vibe to it because it's got a wee bit of that kind of feel to it at times.
Oh, you disappointed Pete. Can't believe it.
There's no much chance of that. I'll manage to mention them in
That
every
was an
show if I
aptitude
can.
test.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think when the next time we do this, I think I might have to. I'll have a look and see what's coming out in the next volumes. And see, because it's quite interesting taking them over seasons rather than watching them from a single season. I quite like doing that because there are differences over the seasons.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think most Tales from the Crypt fans would agree that like it peaked in season 2, which was the biggest season. It was the longest season. That had a lot of memorable ones in it. That when you think Tales from the Crypt, chances are you're thinking of something from season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've all got gems in them for sure.
They have.
We've been
pretty good so far with the shows we've been doing. Maybe accidentally I'm just picking all the best ones. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. We'll do another show next month.
Sure.
We'll try and get one of these done every month. We'll pick another 3 episodes. So you've got, it's hard to rank these, though, isn't it? If we're going to say what's our best, I would say.
Are you talking episodes or comic?
Well, we'll start with the comic. We'll do the comic first.
Well,
I kind of like Horror in the Night better. The 3 stories for the comic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then Doctor of Horror, and then Werewolf Concerto. I think that's how I would go for the comics.
Yeah. I'd probably have to agree. Werewolf Concerto. Much as I love a good werewolf story, there's just nothing there.
It's enjoyable when it's there, but that's it. So for the shows, I'll let you go first, then, because you'll find that difficult.
For the shows, gosh, it's tough. I'd probably say Doctor of Horror first. Well, gosh, it's really hard because you had all 3 of them having such a great time in that one.
Yeah.
Balancing, going against Timothy Dalton, which had a really great time. I'd probably have to give that one because I do like a good werewolf story, and Timothy Dalton made a great werewolf, and then Doctor of Horror, and then this one last.
Yeah. I think we've agreed on both then, because I think that's what I would do, because I just love the cast in the Dalton episode, and I love the
werewolf
Bond references. So yeah, we're in agreement at the end of tonight's show as to how we rank these.
Adam's got all the DVDs sitting by the TV.
Yeah, just check. Just the best way to go through them is probably the way we are. We're just going to check what episodes.
Well, that's the best thing is there's no continuity. You can sit and watch every one of them out of sequence, and there wouldn't be a difference.
Yep, I'll put up in about a week or two. I'll put up the next show. I'll have it kind of up there so you all know what next month what we're looking at, and you can get them watched and help us out reviewing them and ranking them even in the chat. So if you want to rank them yourselves, please do.
Sure.
But yeah. Episode 4 of Wullie and Statto's EC Tales. Werewolf Concerto, Doctor of Horror, Horror in the Night. There you go. We've actually ranked them on the actual.
Perfect. Spoilers that we didn't even know would come.
Oh, I know. Imagine that. Cool. Well, that's us. We try to keep these shows to around about 45-50 minutes. A bit like, Tales from the Crypt, a couple of episodes of Tales from the Crypt. And yeah, that's been fun. I'm enjoying doing this. This is like a really interesting journey for me because I never saw most of them. I saw some of the episodes that were released in VHS that you could get for the Retro Store from the first season. And that was it.
Look at you getting to explore this classic horror for the first time.
It is. It's a lot of fun. And likewise with the EC comics, most of the anthology stuff that I read was coming out from Warren in the 70s, or it was all the other kind of the Marvel stuff that was reprinted here in black and white kind of comics. And essentially all the horror comics from the 50s and 60s that weren't EC got reprinted here as black and white versions that we could buy and read, but not the EC comics. So I've actually read very few EC comics as well, so loving that too. It's all new to me, which is great.
Well, that's something. A nice mind to tap into when you thought you've seen it all.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So, cheers, Pete. Yeah, we
Thanks,
should
Pete.
be back. Well, we'll be back next week with a show on vampires.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be looking at Count Yorga vampire. We're going to be looking at Blackula, and we're going to be looking at the Dark Shadows movie.
Just to address that Adam's comment, last I saw there was an artist edition coming out for the EC Comics covers that I've seen. I don't know that there's a collection just by itself, but an artist edition's coming.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It looks it's a bit pricey, but yeah,
very pricey.
Yeah, we've been getting the Dark Horse soft covers of them.
Yep.
Which are
super cheap.
Super cheap, yeah, and really good reproduction. Excuse me. And so we're trying to pick stories that are in those so that people can, find the stories if if you're interested in buying them. They're quite cheap to buy. But yeah, and there's also the Fantagraphics black and white collections, which I've been getting, but they're a bit pricey if you want to go down that route.
Yeah, they're going out of print more and more.
Yeah, vampires. It's 70s vampires. It's the ones that people probably don't talk about too much on streams. So we've already done shows on Dracula and stuff. But yeah, no, you did not miss it, Pete. Yeah, Count Yorga Vampire, which I've watched them again recently, and it's funny how your brain works. You see things when you're like a kid, and then you see them as an adult, and you remembered it completely wrong,
right?
Or just differently. So it'll be fun talking about that as well. It's like we haven't seen these movies. So yeah, Blackula and Scream, Blackula, Scream, and there is a connection. There's connections between all these films as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I've just recently got a Blu-ray from Italy of the Dark Shadows movie. So I'm going to give that a watch as well. Because you watched the TV show over there, didn't you, Statto?
A few episodes. I think when I was a kid, Sci-Fi Channel would air it in the mornings with Doctor Who. So you get an hour of, like, say, what was the fourth one? Tom Baker and some... it was like a lot of Tom Baker reruns and some Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Watched a couple of them here and there. I don't think they held my interest for an incredible amount of time, as a kid of like 6 or 8.
No, I tried the show. I couldn't really bear it. But
yeah.
I do remember liking seeing the movie when I was a kid. I saw the movie over here. And I remember seeing this. It was kind of a sequel as well, but it wasn't really. I remember seeing that too, Night of the Dark Shadows, I think it was.
Darker Shadows?
Yes. Shadows.
Dark Harder?
Dark Harder. Shadow Dark Harder, yeah.
It's a good time for Dark Shadows.
But cool. The Long Dark Shadow.
Live long and Dark Shadow.
Yeah. Right, guys. Thanks for... Sorry. Thanks for showing up. What's this? Get that. Adams knows his Dark Shadows. Yeah, I think it was up until 448 or something. Yeah, maybe it'll have been. And then it saved the show, I believe. Yeah. Join us next week, and we shall be talking about just that kind of thing. That's us then, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Anything else you want to say, Statto?
Oh, no, I think you covered pretty much everything.
I think we have. Good show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you all next week, same time, same place. Bring your fangs or your garlic. Depends what side you're on. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
The ghosts are moving tonight. Rest tonight. Rest hungry.